Hello, guys. Welcome to episode 7, week 10 of the Third and Long podcast. We are your hosts, Max, Henry, Drayson, Sean, Gray, and Christian. We have tons of new topics this week, and we're going to start off this week by talking about Johnathan Taylor conversation. He's had many scrutiny with Jordan Wilkins, Nyheim Hines there. What do you guys think about him?
Personally, as a fantasy owner, I want to see him succeed, but the Colts just don't really want to give him the ball. I mean, we saw that last week with only 6 carries, but to be fair, one of them was a touchdown and one of them was a fumble. So that might have had an impact on his carries. But we saw also 2 weeks ago when he was out, we saw Jordan Wilkins have a pretty big game. So they don't need to rely on him.
I think that there's just too many mouths to feed down there. I don't think there's a clear-cut RB1. So, I mean, if you're a fantasy owner, I say try and sell high or just have him on your bench.
So what I think with him is that Frank Reich is there to win games. And of course, Johnathan Taylor has the draft capital. He has first round pick, best running back in college football, I think. But Frank Reich needs to win games, and with them being so defense dependent, they need to figure out a way to get the points on the board. Phillip Rivers isn't doing that. So they're going to give it to Jordan Wilkins or Johnathan Taylor. It's going to be the hot hand. After Taylor fumbled, they didn't put him back in the game. And if they're just going to put Wilkins in there, and if Wilkins looks like the better back, he will be the running back there.
Dude, you'll be surprised. They might even give it to Trey Burton.
Yeah, I've seen that. Like, they've used a tight end as kind of like a fullback there. And it's like fantasy purposes, it doesn't look good. But, of course, Taylor, they have a really easy schedule. Like, really easy. And if you like somehow hope that he reclaims number 1 duties, and of course that O-line is a top O-line, he could be in the middle of RB2 conversation.
Yeah, I would just say, like, I feel like he is still considered the RB1 of the team, but it's sort of like how we see on a team like maybe like the 49ers, how they have like several really at least decent running backs that can put up any amount of points every week. So obviously we've seen Nyheim Hines do what he can do. We've seen Jordan Wilkins prove himself. And when Johnathan Taylor can actually get in the game and get a solid amount of carries, we know he can be a really good running back. And that's like the 49ers, how they have obviously Jerick McKinnon and what's his name? Jeff Wilson. They have plenty of running backs there that they need to feed. And if they can just find a way to work all of them into the offense, that would be ideal.
Yeah. Well, going on a different topic here, we're gonna go more in on the Steelers scare, like getting scared. Because when I was watching that game, I'm like, what? This Cowboys defense looks decent. The Pittsburgh offense looks horrible. And I'm just wondering, like, we said last week, I was listening to it last week. I asked Steelers, are they the real deal? You guys all said yes. Any difference on opinion now?
I think they're still the real deal. I would just say they need to just bring their offense together more. And I would say I think their best player on offense is probably James Conner. He's been playing really well. I mean, last week he didn't do much, which is why they almost lost. But it's good that they're trying to play other running backs. Like Anthony McFarland had a lot of play time. We've seen in the past, we've seen Benny Snell. But I would just say give the ball to James Conner because we know he can be an elite running back. I know that comes from a fantasy owner of James Conner, but I still think he's the best player on that offense. And he should be their number 1 target. And obviously, when it comes to receivers, we know what they can do. They have Juju, they have Chase Claypool, they have Deontay, and they have James Washington. So, and Ebron. Ebron can definitely prove himself. It just depends on the week. But yeah, I would say I think they're still the real deal. I don't think they're gonna be undefeated for much longer. But I mean, they're 8-0, so you can't really complain about that. And I think they're definitely the real deal. They're the best team. If we're talking about record, they're definitely the best team.
Okay, so there's a lot of teams in the NFL who, no matter what game it is, it's going to be a close game. And the Bills are one of those teams. But with the Steelers, they haven't really had a huge margin win except for like the Browns game. So they're one of those teams that always keep it close. But the thing about great teams is they can just close it out in the end, and that's what they've done. So I still think they're the best team right now.
And talking about fantasy though, you got to think that these teams that have been doing really well, and especially with James Conner past injury, they might just not play him the last couple of weeks. I mean, not play him, but more of lessen his workload because you do not want him out for the playoffs. I get it; he's really talented, but last couple seasons he's been injured back and forth. So what I'm thinking from fantasy is that, I mean, of course you have James Conner, he's been good, but like what I'm thinking, if I'm Mike Tomlin, I do not want to get him injured again. I'm going to lessen his workload. You have Anthony McFarland. You have Benny Snell. We have Jalen Samuels. Those guys aren't that bad. Use them more and preserve James Conner. And if I'm a fantasy owner, I'm not worried, more of just lowering my expectations of what he's going to do per every game. Anything to say on that?
I think I don't really know how to feel about that Cowboys-Pittsburgh game. I mean, we obviously saw that Pittsburgh really didn't play that well, but I don't think that was as much of Pittsburgh not playing well. I just think the Cowboys came in with the chip on their shoulder. I mean, their defense had been horrendous going into the year and throughout the year so far. And then on top of that, having a fourth-string quarterback starting, I mean, they also put up 19 points on arguably a top 3 defense in the league. So I just think that, I think it was a combination of both Pittsburgh playing bad and the Cowboys just kind of surprising the world a little bit.
But then also going on that, like their fourth string quarterback Gilbert, like he wasn't that bad going into the game, and like we saw him rush a lot. He got like 8 attempts on rushing. He only got like 25 yards, which like that's all right. But and I still think that the Steelers are the real deal. And I mean you're not 8-0 for no reason, you know.
So what I'm going to say here is that, like, with Dallas, here's a conversation to be had. When Dalton comes back from concussion, are they going to play him?
No.
Or are they going to put Gilbert in?
Yes.
Now, I mean,
I honestly don't know, to be honest.
I mean, Dalton has the pedigree of being a quarterback for a starting NFL team that Gilbert maybe doesn't have. I mean, I bet back then he did, but like Dalton has that pedigree as he was a franchise quarterback for the Bengals for a good little amount of time. Like, if I'm Jerry Jones, he's getting paid a lot for a backup quarterback, so I'd probably play him. But I mean, they keep their options open. I mean, this season's pretty much a done season for them. But like Gilbert, he didn't look half bad, and like I think he could actually. Gilbert's playing for his job this week. If he does not do well, Dalton is going to slay. If he does well, Dalton's got to run for his money. So that's what I think about Cowboys starting situation. And especially coming off this bye, people can get some rest, flip their mindset a little, and maybe get even better in the future.
I don't think that they have. I mean, other than on the depth chart, I mean, we're not in the Cowboys facility with the players, so we really don't know what's going on in the practice or how much of a leader Garrett Gilbert is, depending on compared to Andy Dalton. But I think that they're going to stick with Gilbert because I mean they didn't win, but they had a decently good game for a fourth-string quarterback, or a really good game for a fourth-string quarterback against one of the best, if not the best team in the league, depending on who you're talking to. And on top of that, Andy Dalton, we've seen him play 2 weeks. He has not been impressive whatsoever. He does not look like a starting quarterback or what used to be a starting quarterback. And Garrett Gilbert, he just kind of has that factor that you need in starting quarterback, especially with Dak out. You need they need someone who can move the ball around because I think that they have one of the best, if not the best, receiving core in the league, depending on the day. But I think that they just need – I mean, Andy Dalton, you really haven't seen that much from him. I mean, they did play – the one game we saw him really, really play was the Washington football team, who have a pretty decent defense. But we still really didn't see much. I mean, Amari Cooper that game had more yards than Andy Dalton had throwing. So I just think that they have to stick with Garrett Gilbert here.
I mean, yeah. I mean, Gilbert was a star in the AAF, if I'm correct like that. And oh well. I mean, Cowboys are like, hell with it. Let's start Garrett Gilbert. And I mean, I'm excited to see what he can do. Just as kind of a fun little, not meme, but more of just I just want to see what he can do. Looking he'll tell you the talent's different from the AAF to the NFL, and to actually see if it's that big. The best quarterback in the AAF compared to a mid-tier NFL QB. So moving on to a different topic here, we're going to talk about the Buccaneers now and how they got blown out by the Saints and how you guys think that fares for their future, especially with AB coming back for that game.
Well, we talked about sort of a similar thing last week. It's one of those offenses that has amazing players, but obviously what we saw against the Saints, they couldn't pull anything off. So AB, he had like, I don't know how many yards he had, like 30, something like that. And they just weren't, I don't know, they just weren't looking great. That also is because the Saints started off really well, and we know what the Saints can do. Drew Brees has obviously been a great quarterback for a long time, and he still is. Kamara had a touchdown. They were just sort of clicking on all cylinders, and I think that ruined the confidence of the Buccaneers, and eventually Tom Brady just couldn't get the job done. I mean, we already knew he couldn't get the job done once the first half was over, but it was pretty unfortunate because a lot of people predicted that the Buccaneers would be a Super Bowl team, and now it looks like they're not if they're getting blown out. But I mean, sure, the Saints are a great team, but they're still getting blown out by the Saints. And if they want to win their division, that's not how you do it, because if they have to play them again, I guess I don't know if they've already played them, but if they have to play them again, then it'll be pretty miserable. So I think they need to build their skill set as a team. And I mean, we know they have Fournette and Ronald Jones, who, depending on the night, we could see either of them do well. Neither of them really did great, but they just need to come together as a team. And we know Bruce Arians can be a great coach. We know he is a great coach. He just needs to get AB into the offense, because Tom Brady and AB have worked together, and we know that combination could be lethal. Plus Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. So I would say just keep the team working, and they could definitely go somewhere.
Well,
sorry.
I think the Bucs are still a very, very good football team. I mean, Brady, besides last game, has shown pretty much all season that he could still throw. He's still not at the top of his game, obviously, but he's still a better quarterback in this league. And I think one reason that the Bucs weren't able to get anything going last week was because they had like 6 rush attempts the whole game. And I know that's a hard spot to be put in once you're down by, however many points they were down by. But I think their run game is a bigger aspect of their offense than people realize, because Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette are so good, and they like take the stress off of Brady to carry the offense. And once their running backs weren't in the game, they just weren't able to get any form of offense going. Like Rojo got 3 carries, Fournette got like 1 or something like that, which is absolutely ridiculous. So if the Bucs, obviously they have a very good defense, and if they're able to keep the run game going, we know the pass game is going to be there. I think they'll go far into the playoffs.
To comment on that, from at least when I started watching Tom Brady, I've never seen Tom Brady have such a horrible game in his whole career. I think that was probably the worst game he's ever had, because on an average of each season, he averages between 2 to 3 interceptions in 16 weeks. Like that's crazy numbers. And I totally agree with Sean. Like in Henry, that like week 1, like I was like, oh, I think the Bucs are just going to the Super Bowl, because Tom Brady is literally LeBron James. If LeBron James is on a team, he's going to the championship because he's the GOAT. But I still think the Bucs can do something, and maybe not Super Bowl, but I think next year maybe.
Michael Jordan is the GOAT, by the way, not LeBron. But I do understand what you're saying.
Sorry.
No.
Yeah, my bad.
But
Wait,
I think I think this is just a big win for the Saints in general, because I think whether or not we all are watching the Saints, I think they have a good all-around team where their offense, no matter who's on their offense playing, whether it's Michael Thomas or Emmanuel Sanders out that week, they'll find a way to move the ball down the field, whether or not it's exciting to watch. They're going to find a way to get the ball down the field. And Alvin Kamara is just a killer right now. and their defense is just overall decent. They don't have to be that great when their offense is that good. But I think this was really just a big win because this kind of cemented them as the big dog, or if not one of the big dogs of this conference, because we saw them beat the Panthers a couple weeks ago off that 65-yard missed field goal from Joey Sly. That really hurt me. But I feel like they're here where they're going to be good enough to win the conference, but they're not going to be like they're going to have a normal Saints season and go 12-4.
Yeah, well, going on that, I think the Saints have tons of ways to move the ball. Like you're saying, like Taysom Hill. I mean, you saw that hurdle. That was pretty insane. But, yeah, just going with that same division here, the Panthers, like, going off that heartbreaking loss to, like, the Chiefs, which, like, I thought they had a pretty good shot at. And then additionally to that, McCaffrey gets injured. On the game he returns, he gets injured again. And I'll give you an injury update on him. He was originally probably, like, they were predicting 3 to 6 weeks out. Then he comes back today, says he could probably only miss one game, and you're good to go maybe after that. That's just speculation, though. And especially from a fantasy perspective, if Panthers, I think, are in rebuild mode right now, bottom of the division. I think they might be bottom. They have the Buccaneers and the Saints up there. I don't think they strive for it just yet. And I don't think they rush McCaffrey back because that man is the best running back in the league. There's no reason to have him get hurt again. Maybe ACL tear, out for another season. You don't want that to happen. You don't want it to be another Saquon situation. You want him to keep him there as long as possible and keep everybody intact on that team and just build off that. Because it's a good team, you could tell. You could tell they're getting the ball down the field. They're going against the Chiefs. They matched up really well with them. So, yeah. Anything to say on that?
I don't, as a Panthers fan, I might have a different opinion than some other Panthers fan. I don't really think we're quite in rebuild mode. We're rebuilding, but we're not like full-fledged, sell the quarterback, sell the running back. We need draft picks. What'd you say, Christian?
I said we should sell the quarterback.
Okay. I don't know about that all. But I think that we have a good team. I think we just had really unfortunate games where, I mean, if Joey Sly hits that 67 game-winning field goal, not only to make history, but to give us a big dub over one of the best teams in the league. I mean, our season's completely different if you cut out games that we've lost by 3 points. I mean, if you think about that, the Raiders, week 1, I think we lost by 3 or 4. And probably, I mean, if we didn't play that bad, we probably should have beat them. And, I mean, in a crazy world where Joey Sly makes that 65 game-winning field goal or game-tying field goal against the Saints, worst case scenario, we lose in overtime. But if you add those 3 games up, we would have been 6-3 right now rather than 3-6.
Yeah, I would say if we're talking specifically about McCaffrey, I know Max isn't going to like this, but I would say if you're a fantasy owner of McCaffrey, don't trade him because, I mean, Max obviously tried to trade for him with Drazen, and that was, I thought that was going to happen. But I would say keep McCaffrey in your team no matter what, because when he's healthy, and we know he can be healthy because this is like the first time he's gotten injured. I was very surprised because he has crazy work ethic. He's extremely healthy. We know he doesn't get injured. But if the timeline is 1 week, even if it's more, even if it's 3 weeks, I would just say keep him on your team because he's a very high value player. And even last week when I don't think he broke 100 rushing yards or broke 100 receiving yards. He still had like 30 fantasy points. Like he can, what he can do. So I would say keep him on your team, even if you're being offered a really good running back or like a really good receiver along with that. I would say the only players that I would take from McCaffrey are Dalvin Cook and Kamara and probably Derrick Henry. So I would say, yeah, in terms of fantasy, just keep him because you don't have much to be worried about.
Well, yeah, I'm just going to say, future fantasy, it is good to get the backup. Let's say you have McCaffrey. I'd suggest drafting Mike Davis. I mean, we didn't know he was injury prone, but just over the season, Zeke, get Tony Pollard. Dalvin Cook, get Alexander Madison. Derrick Henry, Jeremy McNichols, if I'm correct. But keep those guys because if you have one of those guys, you're pretty much full-on fledged. If one of them's injured, you got an RB2 in the back. keep those guys because if Drazen currently has McCaffrey. If he had Mike Davis, he'd be in a great situation right now. And if you have Mike Davis, I'm not saying trade for McCaffrey, but it would be pretty nice. I'm just saying it's good to have those backups, especially I think McCaffrey's kind of went into like the injury-prone guy conversation this year. And next year, first pick probably going to be Dalvin Cook. But if you're drafting McCaffrey, get Mike Davis on the side. Get him on the side because if he's injured, your season's probably going to be pretty much over unless you have that insurance there.
Well, yeah. Oh, first off, I was never going to trade. Like, you just don't trade Christian McCaffrey unless he's like just out for the season, like torn ACL, whatever. Well, then you drop him. But Christian McCaffrey, it's such a devastation because that's a 20-point plus player that is going to give you that's going to give you 20 plus points every week. So from the 3 weeks that he's played, he is giving me like 25, 31, blah blah blah. But yeah, it's heartbreaking. And yeah, it sucks. Yeah, just to all of you fantasy owners of Christian McCaffrey, I'm so sorry. But yeah.
Well, yeah, we're going to go on a different conversation here. We're going to move in a little more. This is halfway season point right here. So we're going to have our little MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year predictions. So we're going to go down the line.
Wait,
I'm going to start with me. MVP. Sorry, Christian, what?
Are we doing after week 9 or before week 9?
Right now, who is your MVP? Who's your OPOY? Who's your DPOY? And whatever. I'm going to start, and then we'll just go down the line. My MVP of the year? It's Mahomes. Offensive Player of the Year? I got Dalvin Cook. And now Mahomes, I think he's the best quarterback. Best weapons, no doubt, but it's Mahomes. And that's pretty much self-explanatory. Dalvin Cook, he has tore up defenses left and right. There is like no one that can tackle him. Like, I don't understand. It's just insane. But yeah. Going off of that, Sean, what's your predictions?
I mean, I want to say Russell Wilson's going to win it, and I think that is the MVP. I think that's very possible, and I think the people who vote on whoever wins the MVP might also pity him just because his lack of MVP votes. So that could be another thing that lists him to win the MVP. But I do think it's in between Russell Wilson, depending upon how he plays the rest of the season, and Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is he's too good. He really is. And then Russell Wilson's been showing he can do it. I mean, he has his whole career, but this year I think especially a lot of people have been watching him and had their eyes on him.
What about your Offensive Player of the Year?
Offensive Player of the Year, I don't even know. Probably also Dalvin Cook. Like, I know I should probably share another opinion, but I can't disagree with what Max has said. The past 2-3 games especially, Dalvin Cook he's been absolutely insane. I mean, 252 either rush yards or scrimmage yards against the Lions last week, 2 touchdowns. Like, that's crazy. If he keeps that up even remotely for the rest of the season, I think he'll win Offensive Player of the Year.
You may even talk about MVP. I know that's kind of weird there, but when's the last time a running back has won MVP? I want to hear that.
2009, Chris Johnson.
Oh, there you go. I mean, I'm not saying – I mean, quarterback's, of course, the most valuable position, no doubt. I'm just saying, if he keeps on that pace – I know he's faced bad defenses, but if he goes against a good defense and he has that kind of performance, he's going to be in the MVP talk, I think.
Personally, he's actually my MVP right now. Because if you look at his stats through 8 games, along with LaDainian Tomlinson and Chris Johnson's in 2009, he has more rushing yards and touchdowns than Chris Johnson did, and he's also played 3 less games. So so through half the season, he has more than Chris Johnson did, and he's played less than 3 games, or he's played 5 games total, where Chris Johnson played 8, and he's already beating his numbers. And I think Mahomes is Offensive Player of the Year. I just don't think he's really done. He's done a lot, don't get me wrong, but I don't think he's having that crazy MVP caliber season that we've been seeing the last 2 years.
Yes.
Go ahead.
The only issue with Dalvin Cook being able to win MVP is why he may totally deserve it. We're in a quarterback's league. Like, I mean, it's been a decade, 11 years since the last time a running back won. Like, I think that shows you something. Like, there's definitely been people other than quarterbacks who have deserved the MVP who just haven't gotten it because it's a quarterback's league. I think I think it's going to be crazy difficult from at least for the next couple years for a non-quarterback to win the MVP.
Yeah. So for mine, mine's a little bit different, but like similar players. So I'd say MVP is Mahomes. Like probably like 3 weeks ago, I would have said Russell Wilson, but these past 2 weeks, Mahomes has had like 9 passing touchdowns total, and he's always looked like an MVP. We've seen him already win it. I mean, he's just the best quarterback in the league. It's hard to debate that. And I would say, based off what Sean said about it's a quarterbacks league, I would agree. I would say offensive player of the year is also Mahomes. I would love to say it's I would love to say it's Dalvin Cook because he is probably the best offensive player. But I think Mahomes is going to continue to be extremely elite, and I think he's also going to win offensive player. And no one said defensive player, so I'm going to say mine. I'm going to go with DeForest Buckner. I would say Myles Garrett, but DeForest Buckner has been amazing, and he was underrated. He's always been like an underrated player. But if you look at the vote, I mean, if you look at the like projections, he's second behind Myles Garrett. So I would say either him or Myles Garrett, because the Colts defense is amazing. So I would say they have one of the best linebackers in the league in Darius Leonard, and then DeForest Buckner is probably him and Aaron Donald are probably the best defensive tackles.
I have to bring up the point with that Mahomes. He's kind of like LeBron James. Last year with LeBron, we didn't talk about him winning MVP. Like, oh, that's just LeBron over there. He averages a triple-double. I mean, it's fine. It's fine. But as Mahomes gets better and better, his expectations are going to rise and rise. I'm just saying, I think like the little voters for the MVP, they're like, let's not give it to Mahomes again. He's good, but like, come on, another year of him. Like, he's going to keep raising expectations, and eventually he's going to be out of MVP conversation, but keep the same level he's playing. But I'm just going to say they're going to give it to another guy, like Russell Wilson or something. Just because of Mahomes' past accomplishments, expectations are too high to amount, and he has to keep building on that, which is very hard to do based off his what I've already done. So future seasons, I don't think Mahomes is going to win MVP. He's going to still have that level of play, but I don't think he's going to like win MVP because his expectations are too much to amount to.
I have a question for you about that. So if he's playing like the top quarterback in the league and has the best stats in the league for a quarterback, why would they give it to somebody else?
I think they would give it just because they're like, oh, like in the future, he's like, oh, he didn't do well as he did the year before. He's still the top, but like, it's like, oh, that's just not Mahomes like, even though he's the top. It's just not Mahomes like enough. They're gonna be like, oh, Russell Wilson's having a resurgence here. He didn't do as well last year, but he's having proportionally a way better year.
I mean, you have a point, but like, I'm sorry, but that's not happening. I mean, it's very easy for players to win back-to-back MVPs. I mean, obviously, different sport, but NBA. Giannis won it 2 years in a row. I don't think he was the best player in the league, but we're not going to talk about that. That's for a different time. But I think, wait, no, Mahomes didn't win it last year. It was Lamar, right?
Yeah, it was Lamar.
So, okay. Anyway, he'll win 2 MVPs, and I think his second will be this year. So, and there's more in the future.
That stuff isn't given to you; it's earned. And if like whatever who decides who gets MVP, if they earned it, then they get it. They don't just give it to you. But then also, okay, so like I feel like an untalked player is Aaron Rodgers. Well, just because like maybe like of how long he's been in the league or whatever. But also like I mean, yes, I think Patrick Mahomes is going to get MVP, but if not, I think Aaron Rodgers is in that race still because he's had some incredible games, and that connection with Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers is unstoppable.
And Kyler.
Wait, what?
Come on.
Okay, and just from the games that Devontae Adams has been healthy, and also when Devontae Adams wasn't healthy, Aaron Rodgers had Lazard, and then he had other and like but whatever. And he had other wide receivers, and he could just make a game without his star receiver, and I think Aaron Rodgers could be in that MVP talk.
Yeah, I've always been a huge fan of Aaron Rodgers. I have him in fantasy, but I think he's definitely in the race. But it's just so hard when you have players like Patrick Mahomes in this league. I think in any other year when Mahomes is not here, I would say Aaron Rodgers is definitely up there. It's just so hard to compete with a guy who has that many weapons. I mean, we know Aaron Rodgers has weapons, but it's hard to compete with a guy like Mahomes who has so many weapons and can make bad players good. It's
also like kind of like a voter's eye thing. Because appealing, I'd rather watch Mahomes than Aaron Rodgers. I mean, to be honest, I'd rather watch Lamar Jackson than Aaron Rodgers. But it's just like oh, they can run around, they can make people fall, they can break their ankles. They have good. Lamar doesn't have they have good arms. I think it's more of just like, oh, Aaron Rodgers on MVP. That man's like 50 years old. I want Mahomes there. He's 20 something. He's not 20. I'm just saying, it's kind of like to the voter's eye, like the viewer's eye. Mahomes is the head candidate there. Rodgers, great season overall, definitely. But yeah.
So for my MVP, I would take Mahomes, and for Offensive Player of the Year, I'm gonna switch it up. I'd take Devontae Adams right now. I mean, he's playing lights out. Like, yeah, that's all I have to say.
He did not have a great start, but now he looks like the guy, not on fantasy, the guy you actually drafted for. So you guys think about him.
Get him
I
out of
think
Houston.
I think he's doing pretty good, but yeah, I agree with Sean. Needs to get him out of Houston.
Okay, one thing with that though is that they just fired, not just fired, like they fired their head coach. Like, I think that signifies that they're not trying to get Deshaun out; they're trying to get the coaching staff out. So I mean, Deshaun's talented. Like, I don't really know who they ship him to. What about that?
I mean, a lot of times getting a new coach is associated with rebuilding, kind of. But I think Deshaun Watson is soon not going to want to play in Houston any longer. I think he should and deserves to play for a different team, a better team, because he has the talent to take his team to the playoffs, potentially the Super Bowl. So
Get him to the.
I feel bad
49ers.
about that. I feel bad about that D-Hop trade. Look how much that backfired on him. That's insane. David Johnson now lived up to the. You could say a hype. There was no hype. Like,
I mean,
what do you guys think about him?
He's doing pretty well. I mean, he's playing. I mean, not the best of his career, but he's not like doing terrible either. I mean, I consider him a top 20 back still. No, nothing special, but I mean, definitely not bad.
Sean and Christian, I'm not objectifying anything. I'm just saying, if you think that he needs to get out of Houston or that Houston needs to get rid of Deshaun, where do y'all propose that he lands or potential landing point for him throughout the NFL?
The 49ers.
Dallas.
The 49ers.
No.
Max,
So-
I don't think Dallas
Yeah.
really needs that right
not at
now.
all.
Unless
Dak
they don't
is
take
the
Dak.
Yo, let Sean talk. Sean, where do you think?
Well, I was going to say, I don't think Houston needs to get rid of Deshaun. I think Deshaun needs to get rid of Houston. So I want to see him on a different team. And I would have to think longer about that team. But, I mean, I don't think he would do too well. I mean, I think he'd do well. I don't think he'd do great on the 49ers. You can look at, like,
The Bears.
yeah,
No.
the Bears.
The Colts are another team that he'd be. I think.
Bears, Cole. I mean, maybe even like the Bucs when Brady's gone.
Do y'all,
I
like
actually like the Colts a lot,
do
Christian.
y'all,
That's
do y'all think we could see him in either New England or with the Rams?
The
Okay,
Rams
but
possibly. Yeah.
before I answer that question, hear me out. I think Deshaun should go to the Falcons. I would say, okay, so obviously Matt Ryan is still a solid quarterback, but he's from Georgia. He's from near Atlanta, and I think he could fit very well with that young offense with Ridley. I mean, Gurley's not that young, but I mean, we know what he can do. Julio, I mean, I could definitely see Deshaun on the Falcons. I think he fits on the Texans. They're just not a good team. But I would say that's my number one landing spot for Deshaun once He could be Matt Ryan's backup for a little bit, or even start over him, because I think at full skill he's probably better. But that's just a matter of what happens with trade.
Well, I can tell this kind of like is a Jameis Winston. I mean, I think Will Watson's better than Jameis Winston, but like Winston's too talented to be a backup. I think.
Way
agree.
too talented.
He's got a dub, but like
Bring him to
like,
the Vikings.
yeah, I mean Winston's just like okay. Breeze is maybe on the downfall. I mean, he had a good game, but he's probably on the downfall of his career. I understand you're bringing in a guy that's young. He did well in college. He did pretty good on the Bucs. Besides, I mean, of course the interceptions are bad, but otherwise, he led the league in touchdowns. Watson's too talented to be a backup. That's just waste money because he's gonna demand a good amount of money, not trade. Sorry, but yeah, he's gonna like want an extension.
Wait. Let me say one thing. If
You got it.
Deshaun Watson was on the Steelers this year, they'd win the Super Bowl.
Steelers, wow, that's interesting. I mean,
Ben would be pissed off.
Big Ben's not like that anymore.
That the Jameis thing, I don't really know how I feel about him right now because, I mean, stats don't lie. He did throw 30 interceptions and 30 touchdowns last year, leading the league. However, I don't know if that's who you really want starting because, I mean, I understand that he throws 30 touchdowns, which you can't argue with. But at what expense? I mean, obviously you want your starting quarterback to be throwing 30 touchdowns a year, which is phenomenal. But if he's giving the ball away 30 times, that you just he's not putting you in a place to win games. If you have a decently hard schedule or just a not easy schedule, those teams are going to punish you. I mean, that's almost 2 turnovers every game from Jameis.
Well, I was just thinking about this is kind of like similar to the Andy Dalton kind of. We were like, oh, he's better than half of the quarterbacks starting in the league. I think Jameis is probably better, like at least the quarter of the quarterbacks that are starting right now. A quarter. He led the league in touchdowns.
I would only put him over, like, at the moment, Daniel Jones, Sam Darnold.
What about Foles and stuff, maybe?
I don't really know how I feel about Foles Trubisky right now because I think Foles, he's not very good. I think he's washed up. But I really don't think that they had a reason to bench Mitch. He had a bad game. I mean, I'm personally a Mitch fan. But he had a bad game, and I was watching the game. He wasn't being very productive for their team, and they were down pretty late in the first half, and it looked like they weren't coming back. But they throw Foles in, and he has a really good game at the end. But going into that game, Mitch Trubisky is 3-0. I mean, you don't just get to decide to bench your starting quarterback because of one bad game. I mean, I think it was just unjust. I mean, maybe Nick Foles is the right move here, but I feel like that Nick Foles just really isn't that crazy of a quarterback, and I think that Mitch Trubisky's ceiling is way higher than Foles is. I just think that Foles' floor is a little bit higher than Trubisky's.
Yeah, definitely. So moving on to another quarterback here. We're gonna move on to Josh Allen, guys. Oh my God. Okay. Well, Josh Allen, I had to give it to him. He had a good game against Seattle. Of course, their secondary's weak. Okay. But okay, he had a good game. Congratulations, Christian. I know you feel validated now. And I mean, what do you got to say about him?
All I can say is that he's moody. I mean, looking like him and Russell Wilson, him more than Russell, it really looks like they just pick and choose the weeks that they're going to ball out. I mean, Cardinals have a little bit of a defense. They have some bigger names, but other than that, a bunch of nobodies. And I mean, Russell balled out against them, and I don't think that there should have been an excuse for Russell to play bad against the Bills, and I don't think there's an excuse for Josh Allen to throw up 150 yards against the Patriots as well, especially without Stephon Gilmore. So I think that they both are just like extreme. I don't want to say drama queens because, I mean, if you're a starting quarterback in the NFL, you're not just choosing which weeks you want to play. But I feel like they both are feeling a little bit bipolar from a viewer's perspective. I mean, Josh Allen has had a couple good games, and his good games are really good games. I mean, start of the season, I know we had him in the MVP talk. I'm sure a lot of other people did. And, I mean, he's had a couple just meh games since then. And then this week he's looking a little more like – I mean, he stepped up. Seattle does not have a good defense, but it was a big game that they had to win. Or not to – they didn't have to win anything, but, I mean, it kind of cements them as they're there, but they're not that great of a team quite yet.
I completely agree with what you said about Josh Allen. I think he's inconsistent. You can't have an MVP quarterback who goes 2 weeks in a row without throwing a touchdown. And in weeks 7 and 8 are the weeks that he did that, and he got a fumble and an interception in that same amount of time, as well as
touchdown.
What?
He also had rushing touchdown.
Okay, wait.
I mean, yeah.
Sean, I'm going to fork out your time. Christian, let me hear your spiel on Josh Allen, please. Let me hear your reason why he's better than Mahomes, why he's better than Russell
He's
Wilson.
not better than Mahomes.
Still.
He's not better than
Okay,
he-
let me just hear your spiel here. Let's see. Come on.
Okay.
Give me all you got.
So, sure, he can have a couple games where it's a little iffy. I do think our offensive coordinator is doing well with him some games, and then the games he's bad in, he just doesn't get the right play calls. And as for the Patriots game, they threw the ball only like 16 times because our run game was just going crazy. So that's why he didn't have a lot of pass yards. We didn't need to pass the ball. I believe he's top 8 quarterback. I'm not going to say anything higher than that as of now, just because he's a little inconsistent still. I'll say top 8, top 7. But I think that the Bills are on the rise right here. I mean, beating the Seahawks was a huge win, and I think that they go 13-3, 12-4 the rest of the year.
Let me just say, when we're not on the podcast, when we're not talking to an audience of any sort, Christian, that is not – he was being modest right there. Christian, when we're not on this podcast, Christian thinks Josh Allen is the number 1 quarterback in the league.
He thinks
No,
he's
I don't.
Jesus.
I never said he's better than Mahomes or
Okay, he
He
thinks he's a
outplayed
top 3 quarterback in the league when we're not on the
did
podcast.
outplay Wilson though.
No,
Christian
no,
is
wait,
so
wait.
biased.
That is not true. I remember in like week 5 or something, he said he was like, "Look at the stats. He is so much better than Mahomes. He's
I
better
didn't
than."
say. Oh, wait,
No, you did. I can literally pull up the text. You
Listen.
literally did.
Screenshots.
I did not
I
say
can
he
literally
was better.
can.
I said he was playing better because at the time he was playing better. In every stat line, he owned Mahomes.
I'm just saying, viewers
He's
here,
still better than Mahomes. Stop playing with him.
buyer beware of Christian Josie.
I just wanna put this out there. I mean, I was curious because I'm Josh Allen owner in
Hater.
a couple leagues, so I was kind of curious to what his numbers were. So I just looked him up. He really isn't he's having a good year. I don't know why it appears like he's not, but being completely honest, he's having a pretty decent year. I mean,
He has 24 total touchdowns.
he has 19
understand.
He has 19 passing touchdowns, 2,500 yards, or like roughly 2,600, and an average completion rating of 70% or 68.9. So, I mean, I
5
don't
rushing
really
touchdowns. Don't leave that out.
how.
5 rushing touchdowns.
You can't leave
Okay.
that out. Cam has that too.
Can't leave that
Okay.
But
out. He has 2 passing touchdowns.
I don't know why it appears like he's having such a bad season. I mean, I don't want to feed Christian's ego. Believe me, I don't want to feed the Bills part of Christian. But I really have no clue why he's having such a. I don't even want to call it a mess season. He has, let me count, 1, 2, 3, 4. He has 4 games under 300 yards, which, I mean, to be fair, 2 of them are 122 and 154. So. I don't know.
Okay, great.
Where does he rank in passing yards amongst quarterbacks?
Passing yards, I have no clue. I just have the stats that I can see.
Okay. Christian's got the stat. It's 4th. So going on to games here. This week, Cardinals, Bills. You got
Bills 100%.
I hate to say it, but
If we can stop Kyler.
I hate to say it, but I also the Bills. The Cardinals are coming off a bye, right? Or no, sorry. Wait, are they?
no one's
They had
coming
a-
off a bye.
Okay,
No,
sorry.
they
That's-
went against the Dolphins last week.
Oh,
But
that's right.
that
So
game was
okay.
really close.
So they lost to the Dolphins, and I think they're gonna want to have a resurgence this week. But I think the Bills. I think Josh Allen's gonna have another good game. I don't hate the Cardinals defense, but I don't like it that much either. So yeah, I got the Bills by I don't know, a touchdown probably.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Cardinals, just
Let's
solely because
go.
I'm not saying this just because Christian. I mean, it's very possible that part of me is saying this just so Christian. But I think the Cardinals are one of the most dark horse, like the biggest dark horse team in the league, because they're really just pick and choose which weeks they want to play. I mean, in my opinion, unless Carolina is a crazy team that none of us know about it, I don't think they should have lost to Carolina. But hey, I'll take a win when I can get one. But
They also lost to the Lions.
they've really just been picking and choosing. But I think that Kyler is a top 5 quarterback in the league. I don't think that's very debatable. And I think that Chase Edmonds, especially, Kenyon Drake's still out, correct?
He's questionable. He returned to practice this week, though.
I doubt he's going to play just because he's returning this week. But
I think
overall,
that Chase Edmonds has been that better back overall.
Chase Edmonds has been a dog this year, and I think that D-Hop, I mean, they have a very, very high-paced offense. I mean, Kyler, I've been talking about this with my dad a couple of times, and Kyler just looks like he runs like a 4.1 40. I don't know why. He's like 5'8" or 5'9" or whatever. And I don't know why. Josh Allen moves, like every single quarterback moves just as fast as Kyler does, but Kyler just looks like he's moving so much faster. I have no clue why.
But this is true. He's very fast, and because he's so small, it makes him look faster. Like, think about a player like Tyreek. And we know how fast Tyreek is, but Tyreek's like, what, 5'10", 5'9". And, I mean, he probably has the same speed as a lot of other players you would think of, but since he's smaller, he looks faster. And, yeah, I would agree. Kyler looks like he runs incredibly fast. And, sure, he does, but he's not like a 4.3 type runner.
He is 4.3. I just looked it up.
Is he?
Kyler had a 4.31.
But
what?
Like,
dude, that's crazy.
I just think that the Cardinals secondary, it's not very strong at the moment, but I think that Patrick Peterson and Budda Baker will do a decent job of keeping them in check. And I know their linebackers are good, so I hope to see some stopping of the run as well.
Well, our final game of the week will be Chargers-Dolphins. We don't really highlight them that much because mostly we focus on the big contenders like the Bills, the Chiefs, the Seahawks, whatever like that. But
I want to be the first one to talk about this.
The Dolphins, Chargers look good. The record doesn't show it though. And Tua, he looks good. You have to admit that. So what do you guys got in that game?
I have the Chargers just because I think for one time they don't blow a lead, and I think Herbert plays out of his mind.
Is Herbert healthy right now? I'm pretty sure he got dinged up.
He got hurt in that game. But yeah, it was just one play.
Yeah.
All right. Because I don't like Herbert. He's my guy for offensive rookie of the year. Or just rookie of the year in general. He's been playing out of his mind. He looks so much better than Joe Burrow and Tua. I don't know, like Justin Herbert. I don't know what it is. He's just a lot of fun to watch, and that's basically it.
Okay,
I know who Christian's going to say for offensive rookie of the year. Christian, who's your offensive rookie of the year?
Zach Moss.
I think it's James Robinson, but whatever.
James.
What are you going to say?
Okay,
he's actually on Team Get Her Done. If y'all didn't know. So.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Okay, so I was about to say the Dolphins. I was gonna, surprise you guys because their record is good. Okay, they can actually they have shown they can win games, and now with Preston Williams out, they're gonna be relying on Devontae Parker and probably Mike Gesicki. Mike Gesicki, when he gets targeted, he's a really good tight end. He's very athletic. We know what he can do. And I mean, Tua, sure, he hasn't been amazing, but he gets the job done. He's 2-0. So I would say the Dolphins, but I think Justin Herbert is just too good. I'm pretty sure he's ranked in the upper top 10. I think he's on one place I saw him at number 5 for this week for fantasy rankings. But yeah, I just see a huge game from him. I see at least 4 touchdowns, and their offense is just lethal. I mean, Keenan Allen is definitely an elite receiver. And Mike Williams, I mean, sure, he's pretty inconsistent, but he can still get the job done. And their running back situation, even without Eckler, because Eckler, I mean, we want to see him come back because we know what he can do. But their running back situation is not too bad. So, yeah, I would say the Chargers, but both teams definitely have a chance because of, young quarterbacks, young cores, I would just say. Both teams have a chance, but I would say the Chargers are going to win.
Both teams have a very bright future overall.
just imagine how good the Chargers are going to be in like 2 years. You know, like, and yeah, Justin Herbert's insane. And last week, Justin Herbert got like a last second touchdown, but then it didn't count. So like, if they got that, they would have won. But yeah, they've just like all their losses have been pretty close. And I think against the Miami Dolphins team, like I really think the Chargers can pull it out. It might be close, but I think they can actually pull it out though.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like Dre is becoming a little Chargers fan over there. Yeah, definitely.
I would consider him a
Well,
Justin Herbert fan, but yes, that is a good way
Justin
to
Herbert
put it.
fan.
Yeah,
And
it's
Justin
hard. It's
Jefferson.
hard not to be a Justin Herbert fan. He's a really great.
That is very true. He's the tons of acne guy.
Okay, I don't know if anyone else will agree with this, but I don't know what it was coming into this year. I really have no clue. I've never been any type of Alabama, Oklahoma fan, but I don't know why I was so excited. I really wanted the Panthers to draft Jalen Hurts. I don't know, like, I feel like he's just fun to watch, and I feel like I really want to see him take over in Philadelphia. I don't know what it is.
You just say Jalen Hurts?
Yes.
It would help if he was a more, I would say, better. I mean, sure, he was a Heisman candidate, but like I don't really think that means much. Especially, I don't know. He's dual threat, but like.
You don't think we could see him in a similar situation to Taysom Hill? And
yes, I mean, well, that's already what he's doing in Philly. He basically doesn't pass the ball. He's more of a running guy. So I would say
I'm talking about like the receiving aspect.
Oh, I mean, yeah, that's definitely a possibility.
No, I don't know his catching ability, but yeah.
I feel like he's probably played receiver. I mean, in college he lined up at receiver, so I would say
athletic.
yeah. Because I mean, they had amazing quarterbacks, so I would say yeah.
Y'all, I actually have to go, so.
Well, yeah, we're gonna wrap it up right now. So this is gonna wrap up episode 7, week 10 of the Third and Long podcast. It's been great talking to you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.